Hockey. It's fun to watch and play. It's one of the most skill-demanding games in the world of sport. And it's a body contact sport. But when hockey contact hurts, or worse, injures, the fun goes out of the game. Pros who play this game for a living are very good at making and taking a hit. It's their business, and they know how to avoid most serious injuries. But all players should learn how to protect themselves and how to protect other players. It's just smart hockey.
The fans didn't like it, and look at the retaliation.
This is a 5-minute major, and a game misconduct.
A high stick up on Courtnall, and here comes a penalty against the Jets.
Last call for 2 minutes.
He might be sending him to the dressing room. This might be a 5-minute major.
And a penalty coming up, and a King is injured again. And the new rule could be invoked here. If you hit a player to the boards like that,
on the ice,
it could be a 5-minute major.
Any player who cross-checks or pushes a player from behind into the boards or goal frame when a player is unable to defend himself should be assessed a major and a game misconduct. Red, checking from behind. The standard employed by officials last year along the boards will be exercised when a player is checked from behind into the goal frame as well. 45 times last year, a player was assessed a major and a game misconduct for hitting a player from behind into the boards. This new rule is designed to provide even greater safety for the player. No knowledge of the impending check runs the risk of serious injury.
Any check that hits a player from behind, either directly or diagonally at any time, whether near the puck or not, is illegal and must be penalized. As these examples show, the tactic is widespread and often goes uncalled. Officials must recognize that failure to call one penalty invariably leads to a series of further illegal hits, which can only escalate until a particularly flagrant and potentially dangerous hit takes place. All of these examples should be called as penalties. If the contact is particularly violent, a major penalty should be called. Hitting from behind is dangerous and could easily result in serious, life-threatening injury. It has no place in hockey. In this particular example, the initial failure to call a penalty leads to a slash to a player's head. The player in green on the right of the screen makes an illegal hit from behind on the player in white just after he dumps the puck off, sending him sprawling into the boards. Watch his frustration after there is no penalty called. In the heat of a game, it only takes a moment for emotions to get out of control. This play demonstrates another illegal hit from behind. This can be a tough call for the official to make since a goal is scored on the play. However, this is an illegal hit. This play demonstrates how defenseless a player is when exposed to a hit on the back. Watch the goalie's neck on the replay of this hit. This play graphically illustrates the potential for injuries resulting from an illegal hit from behind. This flagrant hit should result in a major penalty or game disqualification penalty. This final example shows how these types of illegal checks can rapidly escalate from minor shoves to fight-provoking checks into the boards. This first hit could easily be ignored since the player seemed to turn his back on the other skater at the last moment. The result of letting these type of hits go early in the game can only lead to the more dangerous hits at higher speeds and near the boards.
that if someone goes into the boards head first, usually in flexion with the chin on their chest, this vertebrae breaks. It's called a burst fracture. It just breaks like an electric light bulb. And you can see what happens to the spinal cord as it goes down your neck. It's encroached upon. If it's encroached upon enough, this can be severed. And that player will then be paralyzed from the neck down. And we now have about 25 such players in wheelchairs for the rest of their lives. It only requires 150 foot-pounds of energy to cause a fracture dislocation of the cervical spine, the neck. We do know that a player going headfirst into the boards at 10 miles an hour, he impacts the boards at an energy of 600 foot-pounds. So there's really no way we can build enough absorption into the helmet to prevent that sort of injury happening.
Hockey helmets are required to withstand an impact of 1,500 pounds. And at the Human Impact Lab at the University of Waterloo, helmets are tested to make sure they come up to that standard. But here's what happens to your neck when you have a collision, even when you're wearing a helmet. When you go into the board head first, if you can't turn or get your arms up, remember to keep your chin up. Don't tuck your chin into your chest. If your chin is tucked under, that's how you can break your neck. To protect yourself against the fixed objects in the rink, like the boards, the goalpost, or the glass above the boards, remember to use your arms and legs as shock absorbers to take the force of the blow off your neck and spine. If you can't get your arms and legs up, and you're sliding headfirst into the goalpost or the boards, don't tuck your chin. Keep your neck flexed and your head up.
Trying to keep hockey fun has become more important in recent years because some very serious spinal injuries have been creeping into the game. Here's Dr. Charles Tatter, Chief Neurosurgeon of the Toronto Hospital, who heads up the Canadian Sports Spine and Head Injuries Research Centre.
Our research shows that the most common way in which a player injures his spine or spinal cord in hockey is by being checked or pushed into the boards head first. He doesn't see the check coming and he's crashed into the boards. The top of his helmet strikes the boards and that force of impact is transferred directly to the spine and shatters the spinal column. This is what the human spine looks like. It's made up of individual bones called vertebrae with discs in between the vertebrae and held together by muscles and ligaments. The lower part is the lower back, this is the upper back, and this is the neck. And this is where most of the serious hockey injuries occur, in the neck. And these are the injuries that we've got to eliminate. This is a model of the neck where most of the injuries occur, showing the bones, the nerves coming off the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord in yellow. It's the spinal cord that carries the messages from the brain to the arms and legs. These bones are not very big, and on the type of impact we talked about, they can shatter. I'll show you what they looked like on the x-ray of a hockey player who broke his neck. This is the normal part of the spine here. This is the site of the fracture, and you can see how these bones were crushed together by the force of the impact. Fragments of the bone are lying here, and other fragments were pushed back into the spinal cord and crushed the spinal cord. That's the type of injury that can leave a hockey player in a wheelchair for life. That's the type of injury, as I said before, that we must eliminate.
Folks, we all know hockey is a contact sport. You expect to be body checked, and you have to be able to take it. Nobody wants to play a sissy game. But that hitting from behind, which causes these severe spinal injuries, isn't hockey. It doesn't take courage to hit somebody from behind when he has no chance to protect himself from injury. And as well as being a gutless play, it's downright dangerous.
Stop and think. How would you feel if you hit somebody like that and he wound up in a wheelchair? Dr. Tatter is right. All hockey players should learn how to protect themselves and how to protect the other players on the ice too. That's smart hockey. Professor Pat Bishop from the University of Waterloo, who's done extensive testing on this spinal injury problem in his Human Impact Lab, adds a further word of caution.
Some people think that you have to be going awfully fast in order to break your neck. Well, they're wrong. The tests that we've conducted in our Impact Lab demonstrate that you only have to be going about walking speed in order to break your neck. The clear message is don't let your head, particularly the top of your head, strike the boards of the glass. And whatever you do, don't do anything to the other players on the ice that would cause this to happen to them.
And of all the tips you saw, no hitting from behind is the most important, because that's when the most serious injuries occur. The ones Dr. Tatter told us about, the ones that end players' careers. Folks, I hope you've got the message. Hockey is more fun when you play it smart and keep the risks and injuries to a minimum. Remember your 3 A's. Your sportsmanlike attitude towards the game and others, your constant awareness of your situation and potential risks, and then taking appropriate actions based on each situation.
Yes, hockey is a great game. Fun to play and watch. Let's follow Mike Bossy's advice and keep it that way.